Hello and thank you for being with us on the Road to Beijing, our special report show taking you up to the start of the Olympic Games on August 8th. This week's Olympic torch route passed through two of the most politically contentious areas for the Chinese authorities. Xinjiang, the country's Muslim province, flanked by Afghanistan and Pakistan, where a massive security operation accompanied the parade. Afterwards, the torch headed for Tibet.
On the street corners, soldiers and police. The shops are closed. All around, there's silence. The word from Beijing is security first and foremost, a week of tension. The relays to go through Xinjiang province, a place on a knife edge. Kashgar, the second largest city, is like a ghost town. The Chinese government says it will face down the terror threat from separatists in the region. Mountains and desert, it's home to some 8 million Muslim Uyghurs and ethnic Turk people. The government says it stopped at least 2 planned attacks in the region this year. Uyghur people, though, speak often of discrimination, religious, political, economic repression.
Chinese come by their millions to the region and take Uyghur land. They also take our jobs. The Uyghur way of life is going from bad to worse.
The flame this week is due in Kashgar, following the old Silk Route on its way to Tibet. China wants the torch relay to symbolise unity within the nation. Harmony, highly prized and protected. On the roadside, the usual celebrations can be seen. Basically, it's Chinese school children or government workers who are lining the route. Scenes that the Uyghur people are more likely to see on television than on the streets where they live.
Returning to the sporting events themselves, many Olympic disciplines have been around since the Games first began, track and field or wrestling to name 2. But throughout the years, new sports have joined the action. BMX is the latest and will debut in Beijing. But what's BMX?
I don't know.
BMX?
Isn't it a motorcycle?
Country bikes?
BMX? No idea. It's got the skates for it, it's cool.
A bicycle, but what does it mean?
BMX, that's a bike, right?
It could be a new cocktail or a new drink.
It's a youth bike.
The gens? I'm part of the generation.
MX, MB, I don't know.
It's an energy drink, right?
A
bicycle.
No, it's not a cocktail. BMX is in reality mountain biking, think motocross, but without the engines. This is the first time the event will be included in the Olympic Games. France 24 reporter Sylviane Baird travelled to Aix-en-Provence to watch the tricolor team in training.
BMX. Bicycle motocross, where the pedal pusher meets the motorbike. A sport developed by kids, but certainly more than kids play.
4 minutes. I said we do 9.5 laps.
Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind.
Yeah, it's hard. It's one of the hardest exercises to do in training. And it hurts, but it does you good in the long run.
Riders ready, watch the gate.
BMX is also a state of mind. Born in California in the late 60s, early 70s, the sport has 5 distinct disciplines: street, park, vert, dirt or flatland. But in the Olympic Games it will be toned down to simple speed racing. Well, relatively simple. The terrain is rough and tough, even for world champions.
What I like about it is the speed, the jumps, and it's a sport where we're 8 in a row, so you have to battle for position, and that is fun to watch.
The race isn't long, just 37 seconds to bump over some 350 metres of track. The 4 French racers heading to Beijing are confident that they'll be taking their place on the winners' podium.
We'll be taking part in 7 races in the Games, so we'll have to be strong and have a high level of endurance. You have to be physically tough for the first few meters, so we are working a lot on building up our muscles and resistance. We are one of the better nations in the sport, and we will bring home a medal.
To get there, they'll have to whiz past the Americans, the leaders in the field. But the Beijing Games will also be a test for the future of BMX. There are hopes that the Olympics will lead to greater worldwide recognition for the sport.
I think it could put a new shine on the image of cycling and would allow for a greater recognition of the discipline. People will see that it's a sport that requires a lot of work, both physically and on a tactical level. So for us, this is a huge opportunity that we have to grab.
Bringing the BMX to the Olympic Games could also benefit other less conventional sports. The International Olympic Committee is aware of the falling interest among young people for the Games and could put skateboarding on the agenda for London 2012.
A dedicated track for BMX, an artificial river for canoeing. Staging the Games means constructing a myriad of special facilities not always easy to convert to civilian use once the torch is out. A look at the situation in Athens, where the Games were held in 2004.
Located in Athens, Arc is one of the largest sports complexes in the world that's open to the public. More than 4,500 people come here each day to swim, play volleyball, play tennis and other activities. It's also home to the Olympic Stadium, where the opening ceremony of the 2004 Athens Games took place. Each year it costs €35 million in maintenance alone.
We don't really make a profit. 60% of the complex is financed by the state and 40% by private funds. We rent the stadium and the ice skating rink for special events, so our finances are balanced.
4 of the 15 Olympic facilities from the 2004 Athens Games are still in use. The other complexes cost the state more than €50 million in maintenance and security. Guards in Helikion, for instance, have proved to be very, very efficient.
Can we visit the stadium? No. Why? No.
Nearby, the Falaise complex used to host the Olympic volleyball tournaments. It hasn't been used since, and the place is now occupied by travellers. These derelict pieces of land cost the Greeks more than €2 million each year. Authorities deny that some places are abandoned.
All of these places are in use, but the mayor of each town would like to do more. So we've made maps of the whole of Greece to establish where the stadiums are and what the specific needs are, so that one town doesn't get 2 similar stadiums, for example.
In Hellinikon, the state had promised to make a gigantic green reserve after the Games. That plan has now changed. A marina is going to be built instead and rented for €13 million a year. The deputy mayor says it's a waste.
Maintaining this Olympic site is costing the government €20 million. The European Union was ready to finance 80% of the ecological park. The state could have financed the extra 20% by renting the canoeing facilities. In reality, they rent what they like to who they like and take the money.
The state has an office in charge of the former Olympic sites. The head of it refused our request for an interview. Up there in Moscow, the Athens Olympics are the most costly in the entire history of the Games.
And that's the end of our show. Thank you for staying with us. We'll be back next week for the next leg of On the Road to Beijing on France 24.